This episode, I'm joined by Hannah Rose. She's had a busy career and has worked on the Taldorei setting for Critical Role, worked on multiple Wizards of the Coast books, and maybe most famously in the MCDM community, been the managing editor of Arcadia. We talk about her new venture, the quarterly magazine Horizons, trying to maintain a viable freelance market in TTRPGs, and whatever Deathmatch Island is. I'm John Denor, and this is Goblin Points. Welcome to Goblin Points, Hannah Rose.
Hey, John, great to be here.
Oh, wow. Here's the cat we spoke about before we started recording about your cats, and now one's visiting us already.
She saw that I was busy with something that was not giving her attention, so she came over to make her presence known.
Cats are always welcome. Hannah, tell us a bit about yourself and how you ended up in the MCDM sphere, basically.
Yeah, I am a game designer and editor in tabletop games, obviously, and I started out editing for Arcadia magazine back in, God, what would it have been? Well, whenever Arcadia started. I think it was 2020, I want to say.
Something like that.
It's all a blur.
Yeah.
I had worked with James Introcaso a bunch before, and he brought me on to copy edit Arcadia. I was just so excited to hear about the project. And then when the MCDM team expanded and James became the lead game designer, I became the managing editor of Arcadia.
Right, yeah.
I did that for about a year, and as, Draw Steel started, worked with James and Matt on laying the foundation a little for Draw Steel. And now I am running my own tabletop company, Wild Mage Press. And we are actually publishing a quarterly magazine that is in some ways a spiritual successor to Arcadia. So if you miss Arcadia, come check out Horizons. John, you and I have been talking pre-show about rambling on and how great it is when people just get to talk about what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're trying out in Horizons is an editorial column, an op-ed that's called The Desk of Many Thoughts.
Ah, nice.
Which was a name that my co-founder, Clara Daly, suggested, and it stuck.
It's a good name.
It's a great name. And so far we've had an introductory editorial from Clara and me, a article on letting reality inform the fantasy in your games, from Quins of Quinn's Quest, and an interview with Brennan Lee Mulligan about philosophy, antagonists in TTRPGs, power systems, and how he turns that into telling stories about hope and solidarity and community. So that's our chance to bring in other creators to just ramble on in a setting that is related to games, to fantasy, to creation, but is not, is a prose format that's not game design, that's not journalism about games. And yeah, that's been something that's been really fun.
I've actually become a subscriber of Horizons. I haven't gotten around to the Brennan Lee Mulligan interview yet because I just leafed through it and realized, oh wow, this is long.
Yeah. Brennan and I chatted for an hour, and probably about 40 minutes of that became the written interview.
Right, okay, yeah.
As I turned it from the raw transcribed text into this written interview, I was like, okay, this is going to be 3 pages. Oh, nope, this is 4 pages. Oh, nope, this is 6 pages. But yeah, it's always great to talk to Brennan, and it was really fun, and I think it is a really interesting conversation. So I'm happy you're subscribed, and I would love to hear what you think of it.
I have to admit that my first reaction was when leafing through the first issue, it really brought me back to Arcadia. I think some about your layout that's kind of similar, maybe.
I mean, we've got the D&D DNA, right, in the layout. And so that's a strong basis.
Sure.
But
yeah.
then also being able to depart a little from that and make ours a little more colorful and have our own trade dress and have some interesting textures. So, and then of course our contributors.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you kind of continued the front covers and the art inside. Oh, it's so good. I just really enjoy the art. And I especially is it the first issue with the dragons, or is it the second issue?
The first issue has the Star Dragons, yes.
Yes. I remember just the first one kind of caught me off guard, and I was I had to show my kids, like, look at this, and they go, wow, what's this?
Honestly, Star Dragons would be great for a kids game because they're, very, very adaptable and neutral, and you got little protostellar wormlings. Like, what nerdy kid wouldn't love that? I would have.
It's so I love all the colors. I just love colorful stuff, and man, I really captivated by the art. But speaking of Horizons, in addition to the 5e stuff, you also have the last article that's usually from another system.
Yeah.
What's the idea behind bringing in other systems into the magazine?
Dare I reduce it down to games are cool? We want to make stuff for games. I do really enjoy playing 5e and making stuff for 5e. When you are just creating stuff for 5e, I don't have as much of an excuse to play other games and get to know other games and work with other amazing creators in the tabletop industry who don't do D&D. Clara and I both really like trying new things and learning new things. One of the things about our collaboration and founding a company together is that, I'm learning from her and the graphic design and marketing, and she's learning from me on publishing the magazine. This was an opportunity to do even more of that. And the hope is that we're saying, to our audience and to our community, hey, games are cool. If you love D&D, you're welcome here, we're making stuff for you. If you love other games, you're welcome here, and we're making stuff for you. With all of the articles that we create, while I think having crunchiness and detail and that, Arcadia trademark of this is stuff you can drop in your games right away is really important, we're also looking at it as, yeah, you could adapt this for other systems. And I'll mention, in the table of contents post, in the release post, like, this is easily adaptable, or you could adapt this, but it'd be some work. And so we're looking at it as, okay, we published a Pathfinder article. Hey, we think there's still a bunch of stuff in there that you could either lift for D&D, or if you want to convert the stat block, you could go ahead and do that. We're, actually some folks in our community who overlap with MCDM have already converted some content to Draw Steel. So the Nim Rock that's in issue 1 has a community conversion for Draw Steel, whatever the, Draw Steel rules were a couple months ago. So that's great. It's just kind of a chance for people to try out new things or to take inspiration from those systems and bring them into whatever game they're playing.
Was it in the most recent issue? Because you did the Pathfinder 2 in the first issue.
And then Candela Obscura.
Yes. And I think it was a sci-fi theme in the last one. I just remember, because I leafed through the third issue. I haven't sat down to actually read it in detail yet. And I remember getting to the last article and seeing the completely different layout and design.
Yeah.
And it was really different. And it had like a sci-fi feel, but I can't remember for the life of me what the game was.
It's Deathmatch Island.
Yes. It was completely different. And I really appreciated how different it felt, even inside of Horizons, that this is a different game. And it's really, I assume that's kind of their default layout that they use.
Yeah. So the designer, Tim Denis, the game designer, is also the graphic designer for
Wow,
the base
okay.
game, and he did the initial layout for the article as part of him designing it for us. You know, you asked about the impetus behind us featuring different systems, and, you know, I mentioned working with other creators who design for non-D&D systems, but also working with other publishers. Like, this is such a fun, tiny, really tiny industry. And to be able to say to, you know, our friends at MCDM, at Critical Role and Darrington Press, at Evil Hat Publications, who published Deathmatch Island, hey, let's collaborate. We'd be interested in featuring one of your games in Horizons. And they suggested Deathmatch Island, hooked us up with Tim. Anyway, so Deathmatch Island is definitely a conglomeration of genres. It is a game in which you are competitors waking up mysteriously on your way to an island where production expects you to fight to the death. So it's dystopian battle royale, you know, inspired by Squid Game, Lost, Survivor, The Hunger Games. Basically anything you can think of that might be on the inspiration list probably is. It is just a really cool system, really beautifully laid out too, in that base graphic design, which we were able to kind of marry with our Horizons trade dress.
Yeah, I really like the design and layout that they used. I also appreciated it. In some cases, I think it would be strange to kind of, when you suddenly just genre shift like that in the layout, but I really appreciated that this is very clearly its own thing, and you're kind of respecting the source material with having like the proper layout.
Yeah. I was really pleased. With how it turned out.
I kind of want to jump back to Arcadia for a bit, because this is an MCDM community podcast. And Arcadia is sorely missed by a lot of the community, at least by the frequency they're asking whether or not there would be an Arcadia for Draw Steel. And Matt has, and I think rightly, said that if there's going to be an Arcadia or something similar for Draw Steel, it has to come from someone else than MCDM, because they were a third party to D&D 5e, and you kind of need the same kind of relationship to achieve the same thing. And I think he's right in that. And going back to Arcadia, when that was still a thing, because you started out contributing to the first issue of Arcadia, isn't that right?
So I was the editor.
You were editor, okay.
I was the copy editor. James was, managing editor, commissioning and developing all of the articles. And then I would do the copy editing on them before, they went to layout and publication. And then I did write 2 articles for Arcadia. I think I want to say issue 7, and then I know Shield Bearer subclasses in issue 20. And that was, a blast too. I mean, I love working with James. And then Sadie Lowry also ended up doing a bunch of the copy editing for it, especially once I took over as managing editor. She was our main copy editor, also with Scott Gray and Amber Litke and Laura Hirsbrunner. So yeah, that was I have worked on every single issue of Arcadia in one form or another.
I have to almost ask you a favor, as someone who's never worked in publications or anything. Could you possibly explain the difference between all the different kinds of editors? Because because you're mentioning editors and copy editors, and then there's someone who's called editor-in-chief, and is that different from a managing editor?
Editor-in-chief and managing editor are basically the same thing.
Okay.
So, like for Wild Mage Press, I am also the CEO and CFO, and
a lot of hats.
A lot of hats, right? So I was like, well, I have to pick one. So editor-in-chief sounds like the most high up, right?
Sure.
But, person in charge of making the publication happen. And responsible for the final quality of it. So in terms of editing specifically, and if you look at like freelance, well, if you look at in-house, kind of the scale of potentially in-house to freelance editing, you would have developmental editing, which is giving more high-level feedback, especially in TTRPGs, looking at game design feedback, organization, with the rigorous playtest process that both MCDM and Wild Mage Press go through, working with the testers and the author to shape the article through its many rounds of revision, and then overseeing the copy editor who looks more at the line by paragraph by paragraph and line by line level, to make sure everything is to do another check, make sure everything is clear, consistent, make the sentences flow well, make it sound good. Then we also have our beta testers and sometimes alpha testers who additionally help out as proofreaders at the final stage, because having more eyes on something is always better.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, mentioning Wild Mage Press and Horizons, because you're two co-founders of the company itself and starting Horizons, but then you also have some testers that you the freelance for you, or
yes,
yeah.
So my co-founder Clara Daly is an illustrator, web designer. In her day job, she is a web designer, marketing expert, basically director of communications. So, yeah, we have, my co-founder has a day job. We are a lot smaller than people think we are. And she's amazing. I'm super lucky to have her. We met working on Taldorei Reborn when she did illustration for that. And she's also done work for, a lot more work for Critical Role and then work for Arcadia. The Arcano-linguistics, language tree, and the Nocturne Market map are both from her.
So
we founded Wild Mage Press, and then we have a number of freelancers for, obviously design and testing, and editing, and a community of volunteer beta testers as well.
Is it fair? Is it fair to say that you've, let's say, it was inspired by MCDM's testing regime when you started out with Horizons?
I would say, yeah, I've learned, how to be a really good test developer, and I think that MCDM brought some, knowledge from the video game playtest process.
Right, yeah.
Lars brought a lot of that from the video game playtesting QA process into how do you playtest well? And I think that is something that MCDM does better than say this not too punitively. MCDM does uniquely well in the tabletop space. Exceptionally well in the tabletop space, and I learned a lot working there and working with the amazing testers there. Many of the testers we have at Wild Mage Press also overlap with the MCDM test pool. So yeah, there's shared DNA there, and I learned a lot when working with James and the design team at MCDM.
Coming from you that they're doing well when it comes to testing means something. You've worked on a lot of stuff. You mentioned the Taldorei Reborn setting guide, is it?
Taldorei Campaign Setting Reborn.
Yes, that one. That's with was it for Darrington Press or was it through WotC maybe?
Darrington Press.
Okay, yeah.
So Darrington Press is the publishing arm of Critical Role. I also worked on Explorer's Guide to Wildmount and Call of the Netherdeep, which are the Critical Role books published in partnership with Wizards of the Coast.
Right, okay, yeah. Business.
Yeah. Don't even get me on to talking about the SRD stuff.
You've also worked on quite a few products from Wizards of the Coast. I've noted down Candlekeep Mysteries, Mythic Odysseys of Thuros, and Descent into Avernus. What did you do on those projects?
I was an editor on those projects and also contributed a tiny bit of game design to Candlekeep Mysteries as part of the developmental editing process. And Netherdeep as well, really. So, yeah, I've worked on a bunch of titles with WotC and really learned a lot of different things. It was not part of the playtest process, but learned a lot from there that I've been able to take forward into knowing how to publish and knowing how to, be a lead designer and managing editor for things like Taldorei Reborn and Horizons. A lot of very informal, but just Chris Perkins being like showing me some of his process as we work together.
Oh,
And,
nice.
the lead designers at WotC really do such an immense amount for the book that I think most people don't realize. It's not just writing. They also flow the entire text into layout. They do the initial layout for the book. They write the art briefs. It's truly an immense amount of knowledge and work. And so a lot of things that I was able to observe that then I got to put into practice, co-leading Taldorei Reborn and working on Arcadia and now running Horizons. I really believe that every lead designer should know how to use InDesign or whatever the layout software of your company is and be able to get into the text and edit without having to go back and forth with the layout designer. It allows you to shape the text and facilitate better communication with your design and editorial team than if you can't touch the file in layout.
Yeah, I can imagine. I wanted to ask, I'm all over the place. I wanted to ask about the release, the frequency of releases of Horizons, because you're doing quarterly now.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much time it takes to bring a whole issue together, because Arcadia, which I'm comparing you very much to,
Sure,
did it monthly, and I've heard from both James and Matt when they're kind of being retrospective that it was a ton of work, and it in reality slowed down MCDM's progress doing other stuff because it was such a huge amount of work getting Arcadia out every month.
Yeah.
I assume that kind of influenced your choice when going for quarterly releases instead of monthly.
Yeah.
Or
so our quarterly releases we've at least so far we've done 4 articles per issue. So they're bigger than the Arcadia, which was 3 articles per issue. Originally, when I was thinking about doing this, I really loved working on Arcadia. I know the community really was sad to see it go. Could I do something similar? I was like, well, there's no way, even with a team of 2 or 3, there's no way I could do monthly, but people, the Patreon subscription model is monthly. People are going to expect that. Eventually, I came around to, from the creative perspective, we want to create something really good and high quality, although creative cadence means doing it quarterly. I mean, publishing anything monthly is just a lot. There is so much work involved in the release. Yeah, there were a lot of people, even though as the managing editor does a lot, and I ended up as managing editor of Arcadia writing a lot of the art briefs, working with the playtesters and all of that, but there's still a lot of people who are helping out and have their hands in the pie and who are also responsible for running the company, which is something that I do now, running my own company. And it is a challenge to balance I actually like doing a lot of the admin work. I find, I like spreadsheets. But
you're that kind of person, I see.
Yes. I have fancy color-coded spreadsheets, but it is a big challenge to balance the administrative part and the creative part and the running our social media part and the making sure we're registered for our business licenses and are paying our lawyer part, so it's that's all goes into it being quarterly, and then we put out a bunch of bonus content between issues. The more subscribers we get, the more bonus content we can do. Those are things like tokens. Actually, just a few hours ago before recording this, I put out a behind-the-scenes post on our art process. You mentioned, how gorgeous the art is.
Yeah.
And coming from, I sort of fell sideways into being an art director and then doing that more and more, despite not being an illustrator, not really being an illustrator at all myself. Clara, my co-founder, is an illustrator. We really wanted to highlight the work of the artists as well as the designers, as well as the game designers. We've done some behind-the-scenes posts on that art, showing the concept art, talking about the art direction process. This one I included some really cool references from the artist, a clean air study that he did during his exchange program in Granada. That was one of the reasons we picked him for the concept for this piece. Photos he took at the National Museum of Archaeology, where he lives in Mexico City.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we wanted to highlight that and talk about that, and that's part of our bonus content. And then we have other bits of game design, magic items, collaborations with other creators, and again, more things we would like to put out when we have the funding and bandwidth.
So you're basically doing like a second behind the scenes magazine on the Patreon beside the main. It almost sounds like
I would say it's more, I don't know, a blog and downloadables. But it is, again, and that's like, well, all the time that I spent setting even that relatively simple post up and publishing it both on Patreon and our website and sending it out via email is time I did not get to focus on designing the next.
Yeah.
The next issue. I'm not complaining here, but it is like, again, a very small staff. And that is the challenge. This is one of the challenges of being a small creator.
Yeah, it sounds like you're putting in not an insignificant amount of work in. I mean, what's something that's not really your mainline product, but I'm not complaining either.
Well, we again with the quarterly release and being in the ways that we are a successor to Arcadia, where people did get something monthly. Sure. I think it is both something we really want to maintain that contact with our community, and also, frankly, something that's just necessary from the marketing and from the marketing side to feel like people are providing value, to not have subscribers drop off between issues. Yeah, all of that's important.
To ask you a bit of a business question, which you're free to not answer, but do you see a drop between issues and people coming back once you release a new issue?
We see some. There definitely are people who drop between issues, more on Patreon than through our website, but also a large percentage of our website subscribers are annual, because there's a 10% discount there. So it's some, but the majority of the community also wants to support us and support what we're creating. But I think if we didn't put anything out for 2 months, then we're going to see more.
Sure.
More attrition.
Yeah. I can believe that. To bring it a bit back to MCDM again, because that's where we are.
Absolutely.
I am kind of curious because you were at MCDM right when Design of Draw Steel started. I remember you were in that first week when you did intensive playtesting every day, writing a Patreon update every day.
Yeah. Was also finalizing an issue of Arcadia that same week. Yeah.
Oh, I can only imagine how busy that was.
One of the things I really loved about working on Arcadia, and honestly, the thing that made me feel really connected to the community, was working with so many different creators and putting something out on a regular release schedule. Monthly is a lot, as we've just been discussing.
Yeah.
Having that connection with the community and getting to hear all about people using what we create right away. We're getting to work with a lot of hand-picked designers and artists and playtesters and editors in the industry and providing that work to them too, right? This is a hard, a very small industry, and it has only gotten harder for freelance creators. I don't think I could make a living I was making a living doing full-time freelance for a few years before I was at MCDM.
Right, yeah.
that is harder these days. It was always very hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I was lucky to be able to do it. There are a lot of factors and privilege that went into that. But yeah, I felt really bad with Arcadia ending, honestly, not just for the community, but for the creators. At a time when things were really up in the air because of the OGL debacle, because of people pivoting to different systems, and publishers kind of tightening their belts. WotC being in a point where they were really staffed up on full-time and not hiring a lot of freelancers. Yeah, it was hard for creators, and I know that our contributors were really sad that they weren't going to get freelance work, at least until Draw Steel picked up.
Right,
and I really just loved getting to work with so many different people. The collaboration is really important to me. So that's one reason why I wanted to start Horizons.
I'm really glad you did. I'm one of those that really miss Arcadia. I ended up using a lot of that material to just drop into my campaign, especially at that time, because I was running a campaign in my own homebrew setting, and it's a lot easier. Just there was one of those mega lists that someone in the community made of like all the Arcadia articles.
Ruben, amazing.
Yeah. And just going through, okay, I just need like a short adventure. I just need like a 3-room dungeon.
I need a CR7 stat block. Yeah.
Yeah. So using Arcadia for that was fantastic, and I'm really happy seeing some of that doing a reprise with Horizons. And honestly, especially with like Deathmatch Island, it's probably going to make me try some new games, because I was really intrigued in that last issue. I can't even explain, because I usually skip the the table of contents because I want to be surprised when I get to each article, and turning the page and just what is going on here?
What are these skull logos? What is this table of acquisitions? What are these redacted bars?
Yeah, that was a treat.
Awesome. Yeah, Deathmatch Island, we also had a staff game of that when we decided to feature the system, and that was really fun, and it was a game that we all fell in love with.
I'm trying to figure out if I can get a group together to try it out, because I don't think my regular group would enjoy it. They have like there's like a taste that they kind of like, but yeah, maybe, who knows? I'm not averse to just running like a short thing for like a couple of sessions just to get them. Just to try something out.
That's right. You could probably, if they like really love fantasy too, you could reflavor it as fantasy, or if the battling to the death is, you can do a non-lethal mode. Also, one of the core, beyond mechanics really, both sort of mechanics and themes in Deathmatch Island, is that production wants you to play to win, TM. But you can also unite and break the game.
Oh, okay.
So you can work against the evil forces of production.
Now we're talking.
And it's very fun that way.
Okay, that's interesting. That actually, well, you mentioned Hunger Games being an inspiration.
Yeah, very much all Hunger Games in that sense of you can play to win, or you can try to work together to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. And
I, of course, have to ask, considering that you're including other systems in Horizons, do you think do you foresee a Draw Steel article in Horizons at some point?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? I know there's going to be a license for it because MCDM is really passionate about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a lot of shared community and shared creator DNA. Willie Abiel, who's now a game designer at MCDM, wrote an article for the first issue of Horizons. James Introcaso wrote an article for the second issue of Horizons. Yeah, he wrote some really cool traps. And actually another member of our community used those in a Draw Steel game. At least one person. Yeah, we have Leon Baralaro, who's a frequent MCDM contributor, and Draw Steel designer Sadie Lowry, and who's wrote one of the Draw Steel intro adventures and a bunch of monsters. So
Yeah.
We have a shared community and creator DNA, and that'll absolutely happen at some point.
Fantastic.
I will say one of the kind of bonus content goals I have that we would really need a budget for, because obviously we believe in compensating people well and compensating people, not just at minimum, but to be able to feel like they could devote time and passion to it and do their best work.
Nice.
Is, having pre-made conversions, not just saying, hey, you can convert this for yourself, it's not too hard.
Oh.
But, being able to convert for other systems, being able to turn our Pathfinder article into 5e article, being able to turn that Trap article and, Willie's Sky City of Kukulon and anything else into a Draw Steel article for our patrons and our subscribers, and just having that up front. If folks in the community want to do that, that's cool too, but it would be nice to be able to do it ourselves and have that be available. But it is definitely work and requires a budget.
Yeah.
And, needs to be not only converted, but re-edited and relayed out.
Right, yeah. Speaking of publishing stuff in Horizons, how much lead time do you have? How long does it take to put together an issue?
Right. So, similar to Arcadia, we try to have at least 6 to 7 months lead time.
Oh, wow, okay.
For some of the articles, it's not that much. It kind of depends on the playtesting needs. For some of the articles, it's a little longer, but occasionally, as I'm juggling everything, a draft will sit in my inbox for a bit. But it is, and again, that's a reason it's quarterly, right? We can only juggle, again, with 4 articles per issue. It's a lot of plates to be spinning, even on that purely creative side, because not only are we working with the designers for each of those, they're also going through several rounds of playtest feedback and deciding what the art briefs are going to be, and then writing the art briefs and reaching out to an artist and contracting the artist for them, working with the artist through their own phases of maybe thumbnails and work in progress updates and pre-final, and do we want any adjustments before finalizing it. So yeah, it's a lot, but that's our goal, is to have 6-7 months of lead time on it.
Wow. That is, I feel like I only have scratched the surface of how much work it is to put together these issues. I'm trying to comprehend how much work Arcadia was.
I will say, you could decide whether to leave this in or not. I finally this year got a wonderful therapist who is familiar with the games and with the TTRPG industry, which has been kind of a dream of mine for a long time, to be able to work with a mental health professional and have that support from somebody who gets it.
Yeah.
And she told me recently, hey, I don't think you're even charging enough. I think it's a steal. I think you could be charging more. And I was like, wow, if my therapist says that $5 a month or $15 an issue is a steal for folks, then
yeah, it's really good value.
Good, I'm glad.
I mean, it feels, this, for me, it really comes back to the art, which I just adore the art that you get for Horizons. It's, also, I really like the logo.
That's Clara, my co-founder, graphic designer. Both our Wild Mage Press logo and our Horizons logo, and the kind of base layout, come from her work and expertise, and then it's been really fun. Actually, if we have time at the end, I will show you some of the framed prints of Horizons art I have.
Oh, wow. Yes, please.
Yes, I need to post some pictures of them, but I have a couple that I just recently got framed.
Wow. I've been debating doing this with some of the Arcadia issues too, trying to figure out, could I get these in proper prints?
Feel free to, not all, but many of the artists have prints on their sites or in print. If there's a particular piece of art you want, just ask me, because the artists are not credited per article, which I've started doing at Horizons.
Yes, I noticed in the latest issue. Yeah,
the latest issue, because I knew I wanted to do that, but I had to figure out how to place it. Anyway, so if there are any pieces from Arcadia you want, tell me, email me, whatever, tell me which page it's on, and I'll be able to tell you who the artist is and point you to prints if they have them. Most likely.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the work you've already done with Arcadia and doing it with Horizons when it comes to the art. It's just, it's such a treat.
It's such a treat to be able to commission these artists and to have, the support and the subscribers to be able to commission these really amazing artists and work with them and work with people from all over the world who bring their own expertise and stories and backgrounds and inspiration. I mean, we talked about Adrian with both his exchange program in Spain and his, being in drawing inspiration and references from where he lives in Mexico City, and then the desert landscape that you can see through the magical portal, right, of the Wizard's Study, the door in the cover of this most recent issue.
Yeah.
He told me completely after the fact, oh yeah, that landscape was inspired by the desert near my grandfather's house.
Okay.
It's like, oh, awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really fun to work with people who bring so much of their own creativity and passion and skill.
Yeah. I have to say, I really like. I had to double check because Quinn's always goes by Quinn's online.
Yes.
So what is it?
Quinn's plural, but yes.
Yeah. So it says Quinton. I'm like, is that Quinn's full name? I can't remember. So and luckily in the back you credited him with both his full name and Quinn's.
I asked him which he wanted to be credited by, and then I was like, you know what? Can we do both?
Thank you, because I was really unsure. Like, is that Quinn's full name?
Right.
I can never remember. I just remember that he's named Quinton. But
yes.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed the Desk of Many Thoughts. And I'm really looking forward to the Brennan Lee Mulligan interview because he's a really big time DM at this point. But he's also one that has he's not afraid to state his opinions, I feel. And I know at least in the past he's had opinions that I don't agree with, but I always find them interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that interview, and it is long, but I'm kind of saving it for. But yeah, I really enjoy the editorial at the beginning because usually that's, or I see usually in some of the magazines that I've purchased and subscribed to, it's usually like a letter from the editor, and I've been really enjoying getting these other. I mean, and it sounds like I don't want to read your writing. That's not. No.
I totally.
That's not what I meant.
I will tell you. The letter from the editor in Arcadia was something I thought was really cool. I always, enjoyed editing, quote unquote. James' letter from the editor was like a quick proofread and a couple suggestions, but
right.
I'm really proud of some of the ones I wrote, but it was always like, oh my god, we're leading up to release, I've tried to copy edit get all these other articles copy edited and get into layout. Oh yeah, I gotta somehow figure out a kind of topic that will encompass or relate to all of these and then write it and get into that creative mindset.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in a very coordinating and administrative mindset. And again, I'm proud of a few of them in particular that I really did enjoy writing, but I both felt like it was a little bit of a burden to always be writing that and wanted to open it up to other voices and have something I felt like I don't see in the industry, which is non-game writing, not game content, prose writing that's not a press release or a review of a product or a formal academic, full-on formal academic paper, right? Like, we have footnotes. Brennan uses some big words in his article, but I use some big words in, the one Clara and I wrote. And there are just so many people here who have really keen insight. Some of the inspirations, I think, were from places that have really great insights in other formats. So like the Monty Cook blog is a little more aimed at game designers and secondarily DMs, but it is that just somebody being able to talk about something they're really passionate and knowledgeable about. And then the fireside chat that Brennan does on Worlds Beyond Number, which I will probably be my shout out at the end of this episode. That's just such a mix of unhinged silliness and incredibly insightful, creative and philosophical insights into playing D&D and telling stories.
As you mentioned, we're coming up on the end of the episode, and I always ask my guests to bring a few recommendations. It can be anything from like a book or a TV series or a piece of music or a game to try out or that people should become aware of, maybe. So I hope you've brought some interesting stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't tell me I could do multiple, but don't worry, I'll have them. So I guess I'll start with Worlds Beyond Number, because I just mentioned it. Worlds Beyond Number is a truly, to me, as a fan, even though I am now doing work for them, but truly to me as a fan, incredible, groundbreaking, actual play podcast. Folks listening to this who like podcasts and maybe prefer it over watching something on a screen, episodes that are about an hour to 90 minutes long, a story that is told, through the vehicle of 5th edition D&D, but the vibes are very much Studio Ghibli for adults.
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of Studio Ghibli, but it gets, it gets darker. I mean, Studio Ghibli could get pretty dark, but, they're telling continent-spanning stories, and really, it's, Brennan Lee Mulligan, Abria Iyengar, Lou Wilson, and Erika Ishii. I think I've used the word incredible already, but fantastic game design, or fantastic sound design, by Taylor Moore at Fortunate Horse. It's just never compromising being able to hear and understand it, but immersive auditory experience. And yeah, I enjoy it deeply as a fan, aside from working with them on some stuff, on some game design. Would recommend it to anybody who likes podcasts, D&D, actual play, fairy tales, storytelling. Really, really fun.
Did you have any backup recommendations?
Yeah,
It sounded like
you didn't tell me I could do multiple. For TV show, one of my favorite shows of all time is Leverage.
Oh, interesting.
Which one of the creators, John Rogers, is actually a big TTRPG nerd, and I think has described Leverage as if you had a D&D party of 5 rogues. It's about thieves who turn away from crime purely for the sake of crime or profit, and to take down the powerful and corrupt that the system permits to continue hurting people. Incredibly cathartic. And now also the best sequel, not even really reboot, but sequel to a TV show is Leverage Redemption, which is on its 3rd season. Getting a little too real with some of the AI related episodes, but really, really good, nerdy creators, and again, just incredibly cathartic at these times.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on, Hannah. It was a delight speaking with you.
It's fantastic chatting with you anytime.
Thank you so much to Hannah for coming on. After we stopped recording, Hannah showed me a couple of framed art pieces from Horizons, and I am a little jealous. As I mentioned, I am a subscriber of Horizons, both because I enjoy and make use of the content, but also because it's part of what makes this hobby better. By allowing artists and writers to make money creating wonderful art, great designs, and fantastic writing. Paying patrons can submit questions for upcoming guests. Link to join can be found in the episode description. If you want to be featured on Goblin Points or know of someone else who should be, leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify, or send me an email on tips@goblinpoints.com. links to the MCDM Discord server, the subreddits for MCDM and Draw Steel, the YouTube channels of Matt and MCDM, the complete link section, and this script is in the show notes. It's also on goblinpoints.com. Next episode is on the 5th. That'll be the roundup episode for July. See you next time. Snackis.